Almost.
No, it's there.
Nah, not yet. Wait for it. Go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Janet Tucker. This is Unity Fellowship Church of Columbia. This is our spiritual development for this evening, Tuesday, November the 1st, 2022. Today we will be discussing Luke 19, verses 1 to 10. And my title for today is I See You. So we'll start off by going through the inclusive Bible version, and we'll start out with reading verses 1 through 3. Entering Jericho, Jesus passed through the city. There was a wealthy person there named Zacchaeus, the chief tax collector. Zacchaeus was trying to see who Jesus was, but he couldn't do so because of the crowd, since he was short. All right, that sounds familiar to me. I don't know about you all, but I'm a short person, so I can imagine how Zacchaeus felt. This big old crowd, and you can't see over them. Sometimes even when I'm sitting down and if I'm in an audience where they don't have like graduated seats, everybody's on the same level. I'm like, well, this is not the same level because everybody in front of me is 6 feet tall and this is not going to work. So I can understand how Zacchaeus may have felt. So some of the things we'll talk about is, one, we'll talk about where Jesus was on the way to. Jesus was on the way to Jericho. And Jericho, it sits near the Jordan River. So we're talking about water, and water representing life. So then we talk about Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus, just as I talked about, had a lot of little things going on here. One disadvantage, as I call it, was height. The only time it's an advantage is when you have to get stuff off the floor. It's a great advantage. But when you want to see things that are taller than you, or you got to reach something that's higher than what you can reach, it can be a disadvantage, height. Also, Zacchaeus was a tax collector. So a tax collector during these times had a negative reputation. But the Zacchaeus that we see didn't seem to worry about that reputation. When it came time to Zacchaeus wanted to see this man, this Jesus, this person that was coming to town. And so Zacchaeus became that go-getter. Why did I call Zacchaeus a go-getter? During the times of this particular scripture, it was talked about that for an adult to climb a tree was like unheard of. That was like a big no-no. But Zacchaeus didn't even care about that. Zacchaeus was like, I'm getting up in this tree because I need to see Jesus. I need to enter into this space. So what is important about Zacchaeus being the chief tax collector? That's my first question to you tonight. What is important about Zacchaeus being the chief tax collector?
He had status.
Status, yes.
He might have
Status.
been short in stature,
Okay.
but not in what he could do.
Short in stature, but not in what he can do. That's what our Deacon Lynn said. Anyone else? Because why didn't they just say tax collector?
Because he had power.
Power, status, just like our pastor was saying. He had power, he had status. And so when I thought of that, I thought of, here's this person. Yes, he was a tax collector. Yes, people didn't like him, but yet he was here to set an example. he was leading these people to what they needed to do. What would you be willing to do just to see Jesus?
Anything necessary.
Our deacon said anything necessary.
Agreed.
Uh-oh, minister agreed, anything necessary.
Mhm.
I think we have a unanimous thing there, you know, be it right or wrong. If that's what it takes to see Jesus, hey,
I'm gonna do.
we're going to be just like Zacchaeus, a go-getter.
Mhm. Yeah.
Verse 4-6. In order to see Jesus, Zacchaeus ran on ahead, then climbed a sycamore tree that was along the route. When Jesus came to the spot, he looked up and said, Zacchaeus, hurry up and come on down. I'm going to stay at your house today. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and welcomed Jesus with delight.
I think I'd have just jumped.
You would just jump?
Jesus gonna stay at my house?
Yeah.
I'm going the fastest way possible. Come on, let's go. I'm jumping. I'm jumping out that tree.
All right now, Deacon. Now, the sycamore tree. The sycamore tree, it represented strength, protection, eternity. Ow, wrong way. Come on, thing. You're going the wrong way. Here we go. It represented strength, protection, eternity, and divinity. It was a living thing. A living thing. This tree. This living tree has what some describe, it holds a lot of water. So once again, we're talking about something that has life within it. Now, one thing, I don't know if you know about the sycamore tree. It was like what we might think of as a fig mulberry tree. And so the fruit that this tree grew, they had to be pierced in order to ripen them in a short time. And then that was also to stop the growth of insects within the fruit. So if you think of it from that perspective, and you think about this man chose, it was just happens to be there, this tree. Keep that in mind now. Now we're going to talk about Zacchaeus.
Mhm.
Jesus knew his name.
Mhm.
Now, isn't that kind of a dichotomy? And I only say that because Zacchaeus didn't know Jesus, though. Not like that. But Jesus knew him. Evidence. Let's go back to the beginning scripture. Zacchaeus was trying to see who Jesus was. Now, that's what the scripture said, who Jesus was. But yet, Jesus knew Zacchaeus by name. Now, when I looked up the name Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus means pure or clean. Another dichotomy. We tend to get a lot of these juxtapositions of one versus the other. Because here we have a tax collector whose name means pure or clean. Very interesting. But what we also know is that Zacchaeus was a part of Jesus's mission. Jesus' mission being to pierce his heart with Jesus's act of grace. The grace that Jesus gave And especially once Zacchaeus sat up there and, you know, after he demonstrated such great faith, jumping up in this tree, having him desiring to see this Jesus guy, this guy that, you know, everybody's been talking about, this guy that everyone's been talking about, he can heal, this guy that everyone's been talking about, he can change your situation. Zacchaeus had this faith. And now here comes Jesus wanting to pierce his heart with love. Being at a disadvantage, just like Pastor preached on Sunday. Pastor was talking about how, you know, you gotta rise above the crowd. And so this is what Zacchaeus did. Zacchaeus rose above what people thought, because he got up in that tree, didn't care what people thought. He wasn't worried about being ridiculed. But he got up in that tree because he had to see this person that he did not know, but the person that knew him. And then Jesus' mission was to go forth and grant grace to this tax collector, this person that we're going to talk about a little later, that they described as a sinner later on in the scripture. But before we get there, what I want to know is, would you ever reach out and invite a Zacchaeus into your house?
Yeah.
I heard one, yep.
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Now, are there only certain Zacchaeus?
Nope.
Deacon said no.
And only because in my life and my experiences with God, God has always allowed me to reach out to people that other people wouldn't normally reach out to. And my first two angels was the two Wanos that hung out on the corner of where me and my daughter lived. It was just me and my daughter then. And they became very instrumental in our life. Never carried groceries. They always made sure Telly got home safe. And they actually saved our life one time when somebody was trying to rob the bus that we was on. And they were just amazing, but nobody wanted to deal with them because they weren't rich. They didn't have status. They, like I said, were the Wanos that hung out on the corner. But their life changed because of our interaction. So that's why I say no, because God doesn't often lead me to people of stature. He leads me to people who are lost and trying to find their way.
All right. Thank you, Deacon. Anyone else have any comments? Would you?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that my my heart is to serve all people and not have a requirement or like a filter of a person. If there is a need, and maybe there's not necessarily a need that I can identify with, but at the end of the day, I just know, I mean, I'm protected, I'm safe, you know what I mean? So like, I just don't have this guard up regarding a person based off of their title, position, their background. I think for me, and I'm being 100, it's an honor for me to be in their presence like it would be them for me, so it's like an ad overall. Because I just, like I said, my heart is not to do any harm. It is to serve. And that's just where I'm at with it. Like I have to focus on my alignment with the God within versus what's on the outside and what a package looks like, like Deacon was talking about, how people may, judge based off of what a person looks like or so forth. So yeah, I would I will feel that I would invite them in my home for sure.
Okay, I'm really get ready to hit you now.
Hit me.
Would you ever invite Kevin into your house?
I sure would.
All right. Everybody,
And that was like a
remembers who
second
Kevin is,
response.
right?
Yup, I sure would.
Yeah.
Now let me say this. Let me just
Okay.
add to it, right? Because we family. Now I've come to understand and know Kevin, right? So I know Kevin in regards to what he's shared with me. That is his conditioning. I don't know how else to put it.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I know how to relate to the brother, but definitely he can come in, warm home if I have something that, he could use or have, or, like need a shower or something like that. Absolutely. 100%. And with the knowledge that he shared with me, I will be mindful. That's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I think that a lot of times people of different backgrounds, I'm gonna say, are put into our pathways as it's like, okay, here we go. What you gonna do? Are you gonna even acknowledge them?
Yeah.
How many times have you driven up to a red light and you sitting at the light and you minding your business, you listening to your music, and somebody taps on your window? And you have $1. Can you spare some change?
Mm-hmm.
And you felt like they invaded your space. Or do you roll the window down, say, hi, how are you today? Because they just might have been Zacchaeus waiting for you to come down. Somebody told them this person in this gray car, this white car, this black car, this black van is going to come by. And you need to be seen. They need to know that you're out here. And then to offer them that would just be mind blowing. Not what they expected.
Right.
They expected to just observe that you came their way. Because they heard about that church up in Towson. That church that, no matter how you represent yourself, how you smell, how you whatever, that they're going to welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
Are you raising your hand, Pastor? I saw your hand go up.
So Zoom now recognizes your hand raise or your thumb raise from your camera.
Oh.
So I actually moved my hand and saw that come up. So I moved it again to see if I was seeing it correctly. But I did have a thought in mind when you were talking about the invitation of persons to your home and how Minister Cole said, I would actually feel an honor. Your topic tonight is I see you. And I haven't shared this, but I now have, my teeth have repositioned. Now I have a gap that I've never had before in my life. And I stopped last Sunday on my way home from church at a red light. And a gentleman was standing outside with a sign. And I beckoned him over to me and I gave him some cash. And he looked at me and said, you have such a beautiful smile. Oh my goodness. And it was interestingly affirming because of the way that I'm feeling about this new gap, right?
Wow.
So yes, I completely understand, Minister Cole, when you say it is an honor, not just for me to invite someone to my home who may be homeless, may be hungry, may have a reputation that others, have touted as negative. but also because that person has something to give to you as well.
Yeah.
When we say, I see the God in you, and we say God lives and dwells in everyone, then we have to be so aware of the reality of that statement that we can look at a person that others don't see God in and see God in them. And that day, that gentleman affirmed me in ways that he didn't know I needed to be affirmed.
Yeah.
Right? I was able to see and hear God through him in his response to my small gesture of giving him some cash that day.
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So I know we've kind of hinted on this, but what does Jesus teach us about reaching out to others here?
Don't delay.
Don't delay. Yes.
If you know it, call them by name.
If you know it, call them by name. Awesome. Awesome. Because you don't know who that person is that just needed a little affirmation. That's all they needed. That's all Zacchaeus needed. Zacchaeus been getting a put down from everybody because of his position
Right.
as a tax collector. People probably called him everything but a child of God.
Mhm.
And then look where he's going to now. He's going to his house to eat with Jesus. Awesome. When everyone saw this, they began to grumble. Jesus has gone to a sinner's house as a guest. Zacchaeus stood his ground and said to Jesus, "Here and now, I give half my belongings to poor people. If I've defrauded anyone in the least, I'll pay them back fourfold." Jesus said to the tax collector, "Today, salvation has come to this house, for this is what it means to be a descendant of Sarah and Abraham. The promised one has come to search out and save what was lost." Sinner, who is this representative of? Because first of all, I found it interesting that they called a tax collector a sinner. Now, I know why they called a tax collector a sinner, because they saw this as, somebody that's, I'm going to call it stealing. They were a thief. They taking the money of the people that don't have anything. They're taking what little esteem that you have from you. They're taking whatever it is that you just trying to hold on to, that peace of mind that we always talk about. They're taking that away. And so they look at it as somebody that's taking something from them that they don't want to give up, but they don't understand that it may be their job to do that. And so they're in a situation where they just doing their job. So that's why I found it ironic that they used the word sinner for something that was representative of someone's job. Like a teacher teaches, a preacher preaches, a tax collector collects taxes. Why call them a sinner? So what is that really representative of?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm, asking this right, like as far as the relevance, but I thought, okay, here's my question. Is Zacchaeus, is that how you say it, Zacchaeus?
Yes.
Is he, although he's a tax collector, like chief tax collector, in his like circle, like people in his community, do they consider him still to be of like one of them in any way? Like, if that makes sense, like of although that's his job, like I said, teacher teaches, but yet the teacher is still in the community of like Baltimore City type of thing. Does that make sense? Like, are they still looking at him as like, traitor, you're supposed to be like one of us, or you should know better, or anything like that?
Well, the thing is, minister, is that the story we get, he's rich.
Oh, right. He is wealthy. Yeah.
He's wealthy.
Yep.
So if he's taking from the poor, the disenfranchised, the oppressed.
Yeah, he's bad news. They don't.
What I'm saying?
Yep.
So therefore, they're calling him a sinner. This is the way they look at it. Because they feel like, they can't be their authentic selves because here comes somebody stealing something from them.
And who already has too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He's just getting richer and richer every time he comes to collect. And I'm getting poorer and poorer.
Mm-hmm.
But then, after all of this grumbling, and he decides that he's going to pay back anybody that he defrauded. So if he told you that you owed $100, but you only owed $10, then you're going to get back 4 times that $100.
Right.
You're going to get back $400 for something that he overcharged you $90 for. So you're now going to be reimbursed. You're going to be, what's that word they try to use for the times that they put us through slavery? What's that?
Reparations.
Yes. He's giving reparations for what he has done.
I think some interpretations make that conditional, though. I think some interpretation says, if I have done this, then I will do it.
It says that there. Right. He says, if I have defrauded you.
Right.
So that's what I was saying. But think about it. Some of those tax collectors during that time, they were defrauding people.
Right. But he sounds like he might have seen himself as honest or innocent of that.
Well,
so that if he has defrauded someone, then he would take care of them. But
what I think it was, you know how you have those situations where I come to your house and I tell you you owe $500, but I haven't looked at no records. And so you pay me $500 because I'm the tax collector. And you don't pay me, then you're going to have a problem, right? That's how it went. So the thing about it, he may not have known. And so now when people come and they found that bill and they like, I mean, I know they didn't have bills back then, but they had some way of knowing what it was that they owed.
Sure, they had an accounting. They had an accounting system.
Yeah, they had a weird accounting system. It was like Pebbles and stuff like that. But whatever it was, when they found out what they owed and found out that, but you took $500 from me, he's saying, hey, I'm going to pay you back $2,000.
I think they may have had a more sophisticated accounting system than that. Because even in biblical texts, it gives us dollar amounts, right? They had denarii, they had, right? Yeah. So I think they had a more sophisticated accounting system than that.
I would hope so, but I could not find anything about what kind of system they had. And so that's why I was like, well, I was like you, well, how do you know if I defrauded you? You know, did this person have, something that they kept? Showing that, this is the amount of taxes they owe versus, like every now and then I get those notices from IRS. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, but I paid you. So IRS trying to defraud me. Are they going to pay me back 4 times? No, they don't even want to pay the interest.
Rev, you going to invite them to your house?
I have invited some IRS people to my house. Now, I'm not sure they were the actual tax collectors, the people that work for IRS. Yes.
Yeah, you let them in. Okay.
Oh my goodness. And so then Jesus goes on to say that you are a descendant of Sarah and Abraham. What does that mean? It means that there was a covenant made. And that covenant said that these people, the descendants, will receive the blessings of God they were promised to Abraham. And so this is what this statement means that you see right here, where it says, today salvation has come to this house. This house meaning Zacchaeus' house. To be a descendant of Sarah and Abraham. Imagine that. All this that Zacchaeus went through, climbing the sycamore tree, something that people would ridicule you about. If you were an adult climbing the tree, that's for kids now. You shouldn't be climbing that tree. But Zacchaeus needed to see that man that he didn't know, but the man knew him. And now here we are. Zacchaeus saying, I'm going to give half of my belongings to the poor people. So now we got to go and empty those closets out with that excess stuff that we have in there and give half to the poor people, people that need it. You got more than you need because you're rich. You're going to give it up. And if he's defrauded anyone, he's going to pay them back fourfold. And so now he has received salvation. He has become a part of that covenant that was made with Abraham. And this was not the question for this thing. This was a repeat question. There was another question, but it was not that. It was, let me go back to here. I remember the question. Would you give? What would you give to your people if it was found out that something that you did was not right? Okay, what would you give if it was found out? Okay, let's say, for instance, I've gone to the store before and the item was $4.86. And I gave the person a $20 bill. And so instead of them giving me back $15.14, they gave me back 2 10s. Y'all got that right. 2 10s, 4 1s, and 14 cents. I'm giving back that $10 because it ain't mine. It's not mine. I didn't want to be the one to defraud them. Now, had I walked out the store, because sometimes I just take my money and put it in my pocket, I don't even count it, and then find out, I've done that as well. Go back to that store and say, when I came here, the clerk gave me the wrong amount of change. If that clerk is not at that counter at that time. Have you ever had a situation like that, or a situation where somebody owed you money, but you told them they owed you more, to find out that they didn't really owe you that? No one?
I've given money back before
You've given money back before, okay.
because it was wrong, but normally I catch it there.
Okay.
And I said, no, we need to recount this. Because I don't know, I just found that if you know that it's wrong and you walk away with it, then your mistake is bigger than the one that they made. Because
Okay.
they did it unintentionally. You're doing it on purpose
Okay.
when you can make it right.
So if you go in a store and you holler and scream at the clerk, do you go back and apologize? I don't know. People be upset about things. Things didn't go the way they expected it to go.
I usually apologize before I leave.
You apologize for you leave. Awesome. I mean, it's different things that happen. When I say defraud, it doesn't always have to be money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's different ways to, not treat somebody right.
I actually thought if I get extra money back, it was a blessing.
A lot of people think that way, Brother Lee. So you are not alone, trust me. When I was younger, I thought the same thing. I said, "Ooh, I got blessed today." Yeah, I used to do the same thing. Tell the truth, shame the devil, as they say.
Turned out to be good.
Did the money turn out to be good? Now, I'm going to tell you like this. When those things would happen, it looked like you spent the money faster than you would have had you only had what you had. Now, did I confuse you? Okay. If I didn't take the extra money, my money I did have would have lasted a lot longer. It seemed like it was like, as your parents, grandparents used to say, like you had holes in your pocket. That's how fast the money went. Just like getting a check in the mail that has your name on it, but you know good and well, you don't need that check. But you cash it anyway, because I need to pay my rent. I don't have time for this. I'm going to pay my rent. I know people that have done it. And then they mad when the people come back and ask for the money.
You mean they received a check that they should not have received, but it had their name on it?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. It was a mistake. Just like, when was it? It was like a month ago. Some person got a big deposit in their account from Google, but reported it. I know a lot of people would have been like, hey, thank you, Google. I know I did enough Google searching for something. It happens. People make mistakes. No, what Zacchaeus was doing was not a mistake. That was Zacchaeus' job. But there are situations where, we get upset with our bosses. We get upset with our coworkers, and we say things, do things that are not appropriate. They're not what Jesus would do. And we just have to remember that Zacchaeus, we are descendants. And so we got that promise that's been promised to us, but we got to do our part as well. So are there any takeaways?
I see you.
And questions?
That's the name of the Bible.
I just want to know. So I'll be wrong if that person who got that money from Google and kept it. I'm just curious.
Oh no, they sent the money back. It was a mistake.
No. I'm saying if that was me and I kept them,
oh.
would I be wrong?
Oh, would you? Yes, you would be wrong. And then you'll be wondering why this happening, why that's happening.
I guess I'll take my chances.
You'll be like, why is Lee in the paper on the news? Like, why did it go down like?
Oh no, that's Google. They got money. They all right. They ain't missing out.
What if you give it back and they were like, thank you for your honesty. What do you need? Let's see about you. Give you the latest, greatest technology, cut you a check.
Did they do that for that person?
I don't know. I have to look it up. But it's always that possibility.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's a possibility when I got a guaranteed. I don't know. That's hard. I'm just being honest.
Dude, you'll go to jail. Okay, that's guaranteed. 100 to jail, real quick.
For real?
You know,
I'm
this is a
sure of
good
it.
They
platform,
gave it
don't
to
you?
me in my name. Oh, yeah, they got that.
So Google know not to send you
No, I
nothing.
don't want it.
Okay, that's clear.
Remember, Google and YouTube are, interchangeable.
I know. I know they listening.
So any takeaways? Any other takeaways?
I think it was a good lesson.
Deacon said it was a good lesson. Okay.
It will help with the accountability piece of our faith.
Yes.
You have to be accountable. Even if it's going to benefit you, if it's wrong, don't do it. Because it always turns out bad.
Except in Zacchaeus' case, it turned out good.
Yeah, true.
All right. Anyone else? Nope. No other takeaways? Any questions?
I was just gonna share. I appreciate it. How you broke down the meaning of, like Jericho and Zacchaeus and the sycamore tree and so forth. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Minister.
I do want to say, all seriousness though, I do want to say thank you for clarifying that, because I always thought when people do make mistakes, I thought it was just a blessing. But now I know it's not. So I'll do a better job with being accountable, holding myself accountable, and giving it back.
Absolutely. And it also goes in line with our upcoming thing. It says, letting God something. Hold up. I had it written down somewhere here. Y'all know I always have 10,000. Letting God exceed our expectations. That's our theme this month. So it goes in line with both. Here it was Zacchaeus, not even knowing this person. And then to not only get to know this person, but break bread with this person. And then not only break bread with this person, but have this person acknowledge that they too, just like the promise was made to Sarah and Abraham, I am entering into this covenant with you because you were accountable. So it's like it just rolled right into where we're going to this month.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just awesome when I was sitting up there and looking at the two things and was like, wow, what a perfect time for the lesson, because it takes you from one to the other, that you held yourself accountable. And then in making yourself accountable, how, it leads to let God with the expectations beyond what you thought. He just wanted to see him.
Yeah.
He got to not only see him, but eat with him.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Exceeding our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we got to do what we don't want to do, but what we need to do so that God can show up and show us and exceed what we expect from God.
That's rich. Thank you, Rev.
You're welcome. Any final questions before I turn it over to Pastor? No? All right, Pastor, it's on you.
Thank you, Reverend Janet, for that lesson. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. I really appreciate the way in which this lesson took us to not only exploring the story of Zacchaeus and Jesus, but also exploring some ethical considerations that come up, right? I think that I was prepared to kind of move us toward giving Zacchaeus the benefit of a doubt, thinking about the fact that really the reputation that was touted in the passage was derived from the crowd calling him a sinner, right? So there was no acknowledgement or validation of that from Jesus or from the language in the text. And in fact, as he talked about what he would do if he had defrauded anyone, indicated in some ways his integrity and his willingness to do that which is ethical in that situation. Just sort of, not only pay them back, but give them more, as you explained, Reverend Janet. And then when you allowed the class to personalize it and to take inventory of their own standards by which they would make ethical decisions, should someone give extra money or they receive a surprise check in the mail, then that helped us to see, regardless of who gives the label on how one should be seen, we are accountable for ourselves and for positioning ourselves to make a decision that is honoring of who we are and how we want the world to see us, honoring of our relationship with God, and honoring of our relationship with humanity, with each other. So I appreciate the way that you walked us through that. And then brought us to November's theme, right? Let God exceed our expectations. So as you can see, this year we have been working on growing, working on learning and understanding how we are rooted and grounded in love. That passage in Ephesians from which that discussion comes, those themes come, it ends with us being able to see that God will indeed do exceeding abundantly above that which we ask or think. I think that this month, the 11th month of the year, is a culminating month for us as we continue to study and explore and apply the concepts of the themes for the year to our lives. So I thank you for the way that you tied those together as well. So I appreciate the class. I appreciate you as a teacher. I appreciate everyone who participated and those who are here and online. Be blessed. Back to you, Reverend Janet.
All right. Thank you, Pastor. And I also like to thank all those that joined us. And as always, we want to remind you that we're located at 120 Allegheny Avenue in Towson, Maryland. We have service every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. And you can also find us on YouTube under the Columbia Project. You can go visit our website at www.ufccolumbia.com. And as always, if you have just a little bit to give, no matter how small, it's important for the things that we have to do in this church. And you can do that at paypal.me/UFC Columbia. And thank you for joining us today. And we will be here again next Tuesday at the same time, same place.